right, welcome everyone to our live stream. We're really excited to do this. I'm Alex, our product director, and I'll be kind of emceeing a little bit today. So we have Sunny here. He's our CEO and founder of the company. And then we have Kelsey. She is with our launch team. So she's been with us for about almost 2 years now as a launch manager. And then we have Jeff here from Reformed Manufacturing, and he has been a customer of ours for about a year now. Oh, so our agenda today, we're going to basically start with Sunny. He'll talk a little bit just about the company, how we got our start, and then we'll transition it to Kelsey and Jeff, and they're going to talk just a little bit about Jeff's story and demo a little bit of Fulcrum also, and then we'll make sure that we're leaving a chunk of time at the end for Q&A. So if you have questions, throw them in the chat as we go, and our team will be compiling them together so we can try and get through all of them at the end. Great.
Thank you, Alex.
Sunny,
welcome, everybody. This is some work that we're doing now to try to connect with a community better. We've been at this problem of working on software for manufacturers for 7.5 years now, and the vast majority of that time has just been heads down, working, building product, making it better, improving performance, adding features. We've been growing a lot. We've tripled in the last year, and we tripled the year before that as well. And that takes a lot of effort to scale a team up that quickly. We're hearing a lot from both prospects as well as customers that they want to hear from us. What are we doing? What are we going to be doing in the future? What are some updates that we can share? And this is the first in what we hope to be a long series of productive events where we connect with you guys, the people that we're supporting. And I want to take a short amount of time to talk about the business. I want to make this live stream as much about showing you the actual product, hearing from an actual customer of ours, hearing from the actual implementation team. This is what we believe that the customers that haven't joined the Fulcrum family yet want to hear, and we want to see how that resonates and how that works. But just to introduce us as a company, here at Fulcrum, we really deeply believe and reiterate every single day that we're working to support the most important industry on earth. It is the first industry. It is what the word industry is based on. The folks that do manufacturing are the people that are supporting everything above it. Every other part of the economy rests on top of it. And the word support is really important. We aren't manufacturers. Many of us want to be manufacturers. There are some of our engineers that geek out about saving up money to buy a CNC machine and putting it in their garage. But what we're doing is we're working specifically on the technology, the platform, the operating system, the ERP that supports the act of making physical objects. And that means that we have to obsessively listen to our customers, talk to you, understand what pains you're going through, and bring our perspective of what we know how to do to the problems that you face every single day. To introduce where we're focusing right now, I want to talk about just how big manufacturing is. There's hundreds and hundreds of thousands of manufacturers in just the United States alone, millions upon millions worldwide. For us, our focus is on the manufacturers that are doing what we call primary fabrication. If you buy a material or receive a material and do something to it, then maybe you sell it to the customer, maybe put it on a shelf and sell it later. Maybe you do the work custom. None of that really matters. But we're working with customers that do what we refer to as primary fabrication. And there are a lot of you. Some of you design your own products. Some of you get drawings from other people. All of that is well within the scope of what we do. But really, what we're trying to do is we're trying to make an impact for the businesses that are taking materials and making them more useful with their time and their energy and their work centers and their machines. It's an important problem to solve because the problem has already been solved for really large companies. These large companies can spend hundreds of millions of dollars a year maintaining these giant systems, and they've been able to use technology and computation to really drive value for many, many, many years. But for our customers that we're working with, these products that have been really useful for a long time have largely been ignored from a product development standpoint. And what is happening is that smaller businesses are having to spend more and more and more of their revenue to support the systems that they have, and they get less and less out of it. And we believe this industry has been long overdue to have an overhaul and a rebuild. We knew that we didn't want to just be the people that came from the outside of the industry and just started to throw around ideas. Even though before I started the company, I'd worked with hundreds of different manufacturers over the course of over a decade career, both in implementing ERP systems and in consulting with companies, and in reorganizing them or analyzing them. We still started the business off building small components, custom features, to try to learn what the problems are and if it would actually be useful. We built over a dozen different iterations of the quoting system that we have. We built dozens of different scheduling systems for different types of businesses, for assemblers and for welders and for powder coaters and for CNC shops and sheet metal fabricators. We built job trackers and digital job replacements to go paperless for all sorts of different shops. And really, we've switched to product about 2.5 years ago, but we have a really long history of working deeply, visiting, driving around the US and flying around the world, spending the majority of our time on the shop floor working with manufacturers to figure out what it is that we can do to apply new technologies to make businesses better. And we figured out that we have some pretty good insights. There are some things that we have that really just don't exist in the way that we've built it anywhere in the world. A way to replace the traveler with a tablet device that you can see the work instructions and record in-process tracking checkpoints and get that information live, to handling invoicing and collections in a very different way that helps folks in finance increase cash flows and power more throughput. A lot of what we do, however, is a little counterintuitive. The vast majority of the industry charges you hourly in order to implement software for you. And the feeling that they give is one where they wait and wait and wait and drag the process along. And throughout that process being dragged along, you're going to start thinking about things that you might want. And they'll always agree to it as long as you're willing to pay $150, $200, $300 an hour to do it. Their business model relies on you giving them a lot of cash up front. And their business model relies on you coming up with a bunch of customization stuff that you don't really need. And because of that, you get value way slower when you operate in a custom way. For us, we thought about this deeply, and we've honed our entire product and our entire team to create really exceptional experiences that are super human based, that are not billable by the hour, that are very low in cost, and that really reinforce this concept that we're working with you to apply our technology and software knowledge to your business. And that experience is extremely transformative, not only to how we implement the product, but how we continue to build it. Our recipe can be boiled down to just 3 things. Build a platform that gets better and better, that plays nicely in the sandbox, that integrates with other companies really well and really easily. Continue to build features that don't exist anywhere else in ways that are extremely innovative and really helpful. And grease the wheels to deliver value faster and give more customer support and focus more on customers getting a lot of happiness. This is a big problem. And because of that, we need a lot of capital. A question that we get asked a lot is, how much runway do you have? How much money do you have? Who are your investors? And we've been really fortunate to have some of the best investors in the world backing us. These investors were chosen because they've backed other companies that have done the same thing that we're doing, but in other industries, in the restaurant industry, in the construction industry, in the service industry. The investors that have backed us has backed the number one option and solution and the best in class new products in all these other industries. They also happen to back some of the best tools that we use every single day to build this product for our manufacturing customers. And it allows us then to focus on the end user. Instead of these other companies that charge a huge amount of money up front to use customers' money to fund their growth, we're able to do it by selling a part of our business that's still a minority stake, but that injects a huge amount of cash so that we can focus on the end user, the operator, the finance person, the sales engineer, to be able to drive new ways of managing business so that live data is put in, live decisions are made, and everything's just available all the time. And it changes the way that we're able to get our customers to think about their business, to think about that data live instead of a piece of paper that's entered into a spreadsheet 2 weeks later that then somehow gives you maybe an understanding that you messed something up a few weeks ago and a finger pointing game starts. We're able to start solving problems and seeing those results in real time. And one of the things that we experienced is that we wanted to build something very small, but as we continue to build, we realize the more information we put into the system, the better the scheduling decisions, the better the invoicing recommendations, the better the purchasing planning and demand planning to tell you what to buy when. All of those things started getting better and better and better. And I wish I could tell you that I knew that from the beginning, but this was just something that we stumbled upon. In retrospect, it's obvious. The faster you get information in, the better the computer can calculate things. And really, everything that we do is wrapped up in one large interconnected bundle. And we really enjoy doing this. We really enjoy delivering a completely different experience to a bunch of customers that are fundamentally extremely wonderful. They're people that are working with physical objects that are extremely practical. The level of fluff and bullshittery is way lower than in other industries. I think mostly because you have to deal with the reality of you can't make it up. Once you're done pulling that item out of the CNC machine, once you cut and deburr something, it's either to the right measurement or it isn't. And that's the same standard that we hold ourselves to as we build this product for you. I want to be as brief as I can and hand it over. I think what's most important is showing you the product and showing you what the experience is from one of our launch managers and one of our customers. I really want to reinforce that we want to do as much as possible to communicate this, that the experience of working with us is different, that there's somebody here that's actually able to do the work. There's engineers on the kickoff calls. When you start using our product, there are human beings that are primarily focused on worrying about your success. And I think that shows not only to our customers, but to the other folks that work with our customers as well. Alex, Kelsey, Jeff, I'm going to hand it over to you guys, and I'll be here for any questions that you guys have at the end.
Great. Yeah, so we're going to transition it over to Kelsey and Jeff. For a little background, so Kelsey has been, like I mentioned, a launch manager with us for about 2 years now. She knows the product up and down, and has gotten a lot of customers successful and up and running on Fulcrum. And then Jeff has been a customer with us for about a year now. He's from Reformed Manufacturing, and their shop does some pretty awesome stuff with complex CNC parts, specifically specializing in super alloys. They also have a really awesome core mission of giving people transitioning out of the criminal justice system a second chance. And so, Jeff will share with us a little bit more of his story, and Kelsey can share some too of kind of our launch story, and then we'll they'll do some demoing in the product as well. Cool. I will kick it over to you guys.
All right. Hey, Jeff.
That's
All right. So I know Alex gave us a little bit about your business background, but I kind of like to hear it from the horse's mouth. So if you could kind of elaborate a little bit on what she said and just kind of tell us about what you do, how you started. We're all really curious to hear it.
Yeah, so we we started about 10 years ago, and it was just a dream. You know, we had an idea for a product, and we started this in my father's garage. We had nothing but a couple manual machines and a desire to give entrepreneurship a shot, and we did. Our product was pretty successful, and after a few years in the garage, we were able to move to a bigger facility in 2017. We lasted about 2 years there before we outgrew that space, and now we're in our current facility where we have a little over 10,000 square feet and 10 full-time employees. We're still a family business. We're not enormous, but we're a good-sized company with we've diversified a little bit too. We also manufacture parts for other people at this point as well. So we really have two companies under one roof. We have our product line, and we have our CNC machine shop. And the other side of the business is basically a customer of Reform Manufacturing. So everything is run in the same shop. Fulcrum is very key to making that work smoothly, I can say. And so that's kind of our story. In my family, we've had struggles with drug and alcohol addiction and stuff like that. So along the way, my brother and I become very involved in the sober community in this area. We work with a lot of guys in sober living and coming out of jail and stuff like that. And we would, in the early days, it was people were just looking for work. So it was like, yeah, come on in, we'll put you to work. And a few years ago, we decided to really make that a core part of our business, which was to become a second chance employer. And we've had really good success with it. We're able to take guys that are maybe don't have a career or don't know what they want to do or where they're going in life, and give them some stability, give them training, and give them a bright, something to look forward to the future.
Yeah,
So,
better shot at a stable
exactly.
future, stable life. That's awesome.
Exactly. So,
what are your priorities for your business at this moment? So you've been operating for roughly a decade. How have things changed? How are you moving forward? And what do you see as your biggest goals for the coming years?
yeah, it's the last few years have been very interesting. I can say that. There's been so much
I think everybody feels that way.
Exactly.
It's been a weird one.
It has been a weird few years, but our current goals are our growth. We're looking to double our revenue for the next year. That's our goal since January. We've been all right. By 2023, we want to double revenue. That's our biggest goal, and that means and not spend twice as much money, right? So
yeah.
we're trying to streamline operations. We're trying to bring more work in the door, and we're trying to get work out the door faster than ever. And in order to do that, we were looking for tools to make that happen. And that's really the right thing, whether it's software, whether it's the right machine tools, whether it's the right employees, what are the right tools we need to have in place to facilitate, 100% revenue increase in a year.
Got it. And is that really what kind of set you out seeking Fulcrum specifically, or did we seek you out? How did you kind of end up here?
Definitely one of the things that set us out seeking a new ERP system. We realized pretty quickly when we got into manufacturing parts for others, especially in the industries that we're in. We do work for, we do defense work, we do power generation, we do some aerospace, we do all these different things. And one of the biggest things in that is documentation. And trying to do that all manually is almost impossible. And so we went out and we rushed out and we bought an ERP system, and we were like, okay, this is going to be great. And it was not. It was very painful. It was very difficult to use. It was very difficult to navigate through. And we used it for almost 2 years, and it just, we were paying that monthly bill out every single month and just not getting a return on our money. So we started looking at other alternatives, and Fulcrum was one of them.
Right.
And that's how we ended up here.
And you've been here for roughly a year now. I think it was last fall that you guys went live.
Yep.
And so I think just from a high level, you know, where are you seeing the value in Fulcrum that you previously weren't seeing with your other system? Yeah.
I mean, the biggest thing I think is that the two things. One, the cloud-based functionality, the fact that we can, you know, before we had to have a central terminal and everybody around the shop had to walk over to that terminal to log their data, you know, do the job tracking. Now we have tablets on the floor. People are able to access information a lot quicker. They're able to get their job tracking logged correctly. It's before it was a huge fight to try and even get people to log their time in. It was just, it was a fight. Now it's easy. They have it right in front of them. They can pick it up. It's sitting there right on the bench. They pick it up, hit the button, done. So the cloud base is definitely functionality was huge. And the fact that people are actually using the job tracking as it's designed, which, you know, that's key.
Right. And from an admin side of things, that job tracking data, I mean, what it does for you, right, is it actually gives you real live data and information about what's actually happening. You know, if you're actually making money.
Right. And that was always the fight. It was like, you know, in the old system I would go in and I would say, I'd go to quote a job again, and I'd go in to look at the data to see if we actually made money on this job. And there would be no data.
You're like, sure.
Yeah, so I have no idea. Did we was it a huge win? Was it a huge loss? I didn't know. Now I know. I know either A, I have to raise my price a little bit. We didn't do as good as we thought we were going to do. Or maybe the customer's coming to me and saying, hey, you know, is there any way we can get the price down a little bit? And I can look at it and say, well, you know, hey, we made a 70% margin on that. Yeah, I can knock it down 10% for you, no problem. You know, that's huge. The other thing that is, you know, really been beneficial is the inventory system, material handling, you know, the shipping and receiving reports that we didn't have any of that before. The other thing that is great is it's kind of stupid, but you know, being able to print out a material sticker. You know, we can print out labels and just stick them right. We had manual tag systems for it was craziness.
Yeah.
It streamlined a lot of things along the way that has really helped us out.
Yeah, and keeps all those lots and everything all separate and
exactly.
Understanding exactly what you're looking at it. Yeah.
Things like that, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. Okay. So I think we can probably start with just sort of walking through the system a little bit. If you want to share your screen and start demoing.
Can I say one more thing?
Yeah, of course.
All right. So I just wanted everybody watching to know that, you know, they asked me to come here. I'm here on my own time. I'm not getting anything to do this. And that's because I really like the system and the company behind it. And everything that Sunny said in the beginning is true. A year into this, I still have those weekly phone calls. You know, the support has been way beyond anything that I ever expected when we first signed up. You know, I have a direct line to, you know, a real live person. I call them if we're stuck and they answer. Sometimes we're texting back and forth and they're saying, try this. It's, you know, I've never gotten anything like that with any software I've ever used. So I just kind of wanted to say that stuff really does. That's why I'm here, because they've set themselves apart from any other company I've ever worked with in terms of the support and the level of pride and care that they put into their product. So I just wanted to kind of say that to everybody watching. So
thank you. That was very nice. I'm blushing.
All right. So we're gonna go run through a quick demo on how I use the system, and hopefully it's valuable and informative. I'll try and kind of walk you through it the way I was walked through it in the beginning, because it made a lot of sense to me, and kind of see that whole workflow from the moment a new RFQ comes through the door and until the job's complete. So we'll get to it.
We can see your screen, so.
Good. All right. So we're obviously we're on a demo site here. I did get to run through this earlier. So to start, this is the navigation screen over here, and right off the rip, we'll just start out with a new quote. And we can pick a customer. It doesn't really matter. Perfect. We can add a contact, and we can set a priority as well. Is it low, moderate, high? Moderate's fine. So when we get into the quote, we will, in the system, we have before we would get into a quote, we can either do an item here, or we could have an item already in our inventory set up, which we have, and we're going to start off with our moon rover. So when we get in here, we can see the price that it's giving us. We can also come down, and this is where I start, is right off with the bill of material and the routing. And I open this up, and I'm able to see every part, every component, everything that is inside of this moon rover that we need to manufacture in order to ship it complete to the customer. And I'm gonna come in here, and hopefully that all of this is in our system correctly. If it's not, I can make edits to it. I can open up the items, and I can take a look at them. I can update things. I can do whatever needs to be done. I can add operations, assemblies. I can set specific equipment that I want it operated on. I can do all of this, and all of my pricing is built into, what, depending on the operation and the equipment that it's run on, and it pulls everything in. So all of these subcomponents of the moon rover are all pulled in. Everything is accounted for: the material, the labor, any components that we buy, the cost to assemble. All of it is all built in.
And Jeff, can you really quickly, can you open that back up?
I absolutely can.
Yeah. And then go ahead and just click on the total cost over to the right. Yeah. And that'll give you like a physical breakdown of all of your labor, all of your costs per hour based on your labor, all the quantities of all the material you need, and all the subcomponents and everything. So I just want to point that out.
And see, I'm learning stuff because I didn't know that.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. That's actually really cool. I did not know if you clicked on it, it broke it out like that.
Yeah.
So, but exactly right. I can see everything needed, and then and this is actually kind of a new feature, is this margin-based pricing, which I think is fantastic. I can do a unit per unit price, or I can figure on a margin on a margin price, which is how we operate. So if I'm looking to make, I want to make a 30% margin on this, I can set it to 30%, and we can add as many quantities as we want, and it'll do quantity-based pricing, and and show the discount for all the quantities. Down the bottom, we have, any attachments that attached to the drawing. So the, 3D models, our PDFs, our drawings, any specifications are all right there. I can set a lead time, whatever it might be. And we can come over to the details page, payment terms, what customer it is. I can attach files and notes, whatever I need. And then I can go over to my preview screen and I can see my quote. And it's as easy as that. I can download it, or if I use Outlook, I can just click email and send it off. Once it's been sent, well, there's actually, before we send it, we do have an approval process. So let's say I did not do the quote, maybe one of my guys did the quote, they would come in, mark it ready for approval, and then somebody else has to go in and actually approve it. So there's a little bit of a check there just to make sure that we didn't miss anything, right? It's always
Right.
great for somebody else to put another set of eyes on it. After that, it becomes approved, and then we can send it, and we can mark it as sent. And when we come back to our quotes page, here's our quote, quote 1043 to Planetary Research, status sent, right? And when it was ready for approval, it would show that it was ready for approval. And basically you get a status right there.
Let's get it over to a sales order and
Let's do it. All
get a
right,
job going.
quote comes back, it's been won, and we can convert it right to a sales order right from here. Again, at this point, we mark this immediately ready for approval. We do another check. We want to go through, we want to make sure that everything's looking right. All of the BOM and routing are correct, all the materials are correct, everything is good. And if it's approved, we approve it. On the details page, this is where we can put in our, we enter our customer PO number, whatever it is, and you can attach a copy of the purchase order down here.
And also can see the quote that you came from, just in case you needed to them back.
Yes. Yep. And you can see the quote. That's actually one of the really cool things is everything related to this at this point shows up there. So as we go through the process, the quotes there, any invoices are there, any shipping and receiving orders are there, any POs for outside processing are there. Everything is all tied together and easily accessible. Once we mark it as sent, it now asks us to schedule the job.
And one of the nice things about this too is we're also showing you how many you actually have available in inventory, and that's all live as well. So you can see that the quantity is 1 for this particular one, but we have some negative inventory in there, so maybe we should make 6. So let's change that quantity to 6 instead. Get us back up to a good number. All right, cool.
And we can give it a, August 31st doesn't. And maybe it's a high priority. So we want to create the job, and we do want to approve and schedule it. And we will click create job. And when we come back to our items page, we scroll down, we now have a job scheduled for this moon rover, and I can open it to a new tab. And everything we need for this job is right at our fingertips. We can see from the jobs page, from a administrative point of view, from my perspective, this is where I'm looking and seeing how everything is progressing. I can come in here in real time. I can see, okay, all the cutting's been done, the CNC milling's been done. I can see if they've gone over the allocated time that we thought it was going to take, and see if there are any notes in here to see if they're, see what the reason was. Okay, the bandsaw broke down, or the blade broke and we had to wait for another one. I can see all of the stuff that my guys are putting in, and and if I don't see notes, then I can go yell at people. But
Exactly.
I try not
And
to.
then another thing that's good to see too is the materials down here. You can see what you have in inventory, what's required, and then you can see the things that we're suggesting you buy for this job as well. So we kind of list all that out, and we also check off the things that are fine already that we know you have enough inventory for and you're not encroaching on your minimums. All good things. All right, maybe we can bop on over to the schedule page and just give that a reschedule. I don't remember what job we were. Oh, it was 10:49. Okay, so it's all scheduled out, and now we can see it here on the scheduling page and which stations it's going to hit. In this particular case, we're showing everything that's being scheduled, right? But Jeff, if you search up at the top for 10:49, it's going to show you everything under every operation and every piece of equipment that you could potentially need to work on. And the schedule will do all of this automatically.
Right. And it does work pretty good. We can follow right along, and it gives you dates and backlogs and all that great stuff.
Yeah.
Do you want to pop into the job tracking real quick?
Yeah, let's do it.
So if we come into job tracking and we search 10:49, everything that's on the schedule is, and this is what my guys out on the floor spend the majority of their time in. They're in here looking at the actual jobs that need to be completed. So they have job 10:49 in front of them, and the first op is bandsaw, and they can come right in here. They can, down in the bottom corner, there's if you click, there's all the documentation needed for the job.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
We have details, exactly what it is, and then they can, they can click setup if they're setting the machine up, and they can log their time on setup. And then once that's done, maybe somebody else takes over, and they can click on labor and log their time into labor. There's obviously, the labels I was talking about. There's scrap, rework, operations. But if everything goes as planned, at this point, once the bandsawing was done, we would come in and we would pick what we needed for materials. Boop, boop, boop. That would automatically deduct it all from our inventory. And then we would complete this operation. We say, all right, we had 12 done. I don't know, maybe we scrapped one. And, and we would just click complete. And then that's all set. And it moves us right down to the very next operation. And it's all pretty locked in, which is, I can complete this, right? It's not going to.
Yeah.
So if I click this, it's completed, and it just brings you right to the next correct operation. There's no guesswork in it, really. We just it just brings you right down the line of what needs to be done.
Right, exactly.
And this is also, when I was talking about those notes earlier, this is also where the operators can add notes in if things are behind or something's broken, and they can put in some nice notes and reasons and everything for it that I can then see from my standpoint.
Definitely. Or even attach a photo of where they left something so they can find it later when they come back to the job, or if somebody else picks it up later. So
Right.
Awesome. Thank you, Jeff. That was awesome.
You're welcome.
And I just wanted to note too, for everybody watching, that Jeff goes through the quoting process quite frequently. He has a lot of custom work that needs to be done, but are ways to simply go through just adding a sales order, especially if you're more of a product company and you have the same things that you kind of make and sell each time. Sorry for the dog. That you can just go straight to a sales order and issue that at that time and utilize items that are already in your system.
Yes. Anything else you want me to demo?
I don't think so. I think we're ready for some Q&A.
Yeah. Yeah, we have a couple different questions and stuff that have come in. And some of them are towards Kelsey, Jeff, Sunny as well. One question actually that we get quite a bit that Jeff, I think you could give some insight on is you talked a little bit about your team like picking up the job tracker or picking up, the new system and actually, really adopting it, which was key, obviously, to you getting all of that live data. Like you have to get that user, like team member adoption and get everyone on board. What was that experience like? What were your initial like fears with that? And, how did you guys handle that?
So there weren't really any fears. I figured based on what I saw in the software and the UX, which is very important to me, that user experience in there, I figured that people would take to it relatively easily, and everybody did. But again, it's all for us. It was all about repetition. So we actually assigned one person in the office to audit several jobs every week, and their job was to go in, review everything, and make sure that everybody on the floor was correctly doing what they were supposed to. And then not just fix it or yell at them, but actually would go down and to the floor and say, hey, Bob, you didn't do this correctly. Could you fix it? And actually get the person on the floor to fix the problem themselves and be able to teach them. And maybe they didn't know how to do it properly, or they were just being lazy. But that just repetition and constant, hey, do this. And then finally it was like, all right, well, they didn't want anybody coming down there and asking them to fix it anymore. And it worked, but I think that level of, it was nothing that was very difficult to do. I don't think anybody really had any problems with the software itself. It was just getting, kind of driving that home over and over and over again. This is what we're expecting, and you need to do it right.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Another one for Jeff. I mean, are there things that going into implementing a new system, it obviously touches basically everyone in your team and everything. Are there things you wish you would have known going into it, or I don't know, things that you would have done differently, or that we could have done differently as a team from your perspective?
I wish I had chosen Fulcrum the first time and not the other ERP, because that was really the biggest hurdle was getting all of our existing data out of our old ERP and getting it into Fulcrum. And you guys made it very easy once we had the data out of our old ERP, but getting the data out of there was a giant pain. So yeah, that was really the only thing that still gives me nightmares, is getting everything out of our old ERP system. So
yeah, the data cleanup can be quite the task. And then one more about your implementation. So we had someone in the chat just ask about your implementation timeline and what that was kind of like. And if you specifically also, if you had a chance to do any demo or what the evaluation of the software was like before you signed on with us.
I'm trying to remember. We did spend a fair amount of time, talking and viewing. I don't know if we did like a hands-on demo, but I sat in something very similar to this, and we got to ask lots of questions, and every question that we could think of we could ask and we were shown the answer to, I think it was, I think it was presented well, and it was presented as is. In terms of our timeline, we took it really easy. I wasn't in a huge rush to just flip the switch. I think we had both systems running in our shop, our old one and in Fulcrum, for the first 6 months. And I was glad that we did it that way, because it was a transition. I knew it was going to be painful, and I didn't want us to be pulling our hair out. So we took it slow. We made the transition gradually, and that, for us, that was the right way to do it.
Cool. All right, we'll transition a little bit. We have a few product specific types of questions that came from the chats and everything, and from the stuff that you were demoing. So one of the questions was just, can you see on-hand availability of subcomponents within the BOM at the quote phase? So I can take that one. So you can see the on-hand availability in a lot of different spots. Right now, you won't actually see it at those subcomponents on the quote phase. You'll see the finished good availability, but then you will see all of that subcomponent availability as soon as you convert it into a job. So we'll tell you what's on hand, what's needed on other jobs, and there's some different tools we call demand planning to help also kind of forecast some of that stuff out so that you can build subcomponents to stock and things as well. Which is kind of related actually to this other product question. So we have another question from someone who asked more also just about some of that MRP functionality. Basically, do we have tools in place to help determine how much and sort of when to fabricate a purchase? What does that look like in Fulcrum? And then also a question sort of related to that around forecasting specifically, so forecasting out future things. Sunny, I'll throw that one to you if you want to take that one.
Sure. There is an ability for us to ingest a forecast, but there's the way that we think about it is that the forecast that you tell us is essentially an overriding factor over the things that we're calculating. So we have a few customers that we've actually worked really tightly with, excuse me, to try to solve this forecasting problem. And what invariably happens is that we get a forecast, they don't like it, and they adjust it, and that forecast then becomes the plan, and we execute against the plan, and we overbuy materials. What we're really pushing for, and we're also going to build in some sort of forecast adjustment at some point in time, but what we're really pushing for is when we have all your data, when we upload all your information, the computer system is already looking at everything that you've built in the past, all the sales orders that you have right now, your current schedule, all the purchase orders you have on hand, and the trends that are related to it. And the demand planning engine is telling you what you should build from a subcomponent level or even a finished goods level, depending on how you set up your shop. We haven't seen any evidence that it's more far off than a forecast would be. Now, that isn't to say that we don't want to build a forecast, but one of the things that I made sure to push the team on is we can't just do everything that is how people do it right now, because they didn't have the luxury of using a system that is as automated as Fulcrum. We also can't ignore the things that people want. So this is one of the things where the current situation is we don't have an answer as to exactly how we're going to do that. It's something we really, really want to build. There's a lot that fits within the vibe of what we want Fulcrum to do, but we need more data points. And I don't know who it is that asked the question, but if you want to talk to us, we'd love to talk to you, learn how you would use it. I think we're further along in thinking about it and designing it than you might expect, but we don't have the confidence about how it should be used yet. So we're still in the research phase. And that relates to the other question too, that I think somebody else asked about alerts and emails. Our system, it can send emails out right now. We've built other systems that send text messages and a lot of other alerts. They can get extremely annoying. and we haven't really dialed into the part where we know what people want to be alerted of yet. It's on our docket, actually. There's a couple other things that are prioritized ahead of it, but it's really, really high up on the list. And if you have some feedback and insight, we'd love to hear that as well. But really what we're trying to dial in is how do we bridge that gap between not being so annoying that you don't want to look at the messages anymore and you turn it off, but also be valuable enough that you can rely on it, that you're not going to miss anything. And then you can, if you miss something, if something important happens and we didn't alert you, you're just not going to trust those alerts. You're going to keep looking anyway. So that's one of those other areas where we have a very clear vision of how we want to execute on it from a technology standpoint. But from a business standpoint, we're really not that clear yet. So any sort of feedback is valuable and we welcome it.
Yeah. Another sort of product related question and sort of, company sort of strategy related question. How does Fulcrum think about integrations with other software? What types of integrations do we offer now? Yeah. Sorry. I'll give that to Sunny too.
Okay, great.
So I could have given it to Kelsey also.
So there's a few things that to just define what integration is. One of the things that we're really committed to is we're committed to not building an accounting system, and we're committed to not building a CRM. And the reason why that is because you can think of our company as ingesting a certain amount of money, some from investors, some from customers, some from partners maybe. And that money has to go to pay for a lot of different things. There's a CEO of another company that did this, and their company is now worth billions of dollars, and they've helped tens of thousands of construction companies all around the US. The analogy he gave me is he called it peanut buttering. That no matter what, in any given period of time, whether you're a manufacturing business or a software business, you have a certain amount of resources that you can spread over a certain number of tasks. And for me, I think what's really important is making sure that shops know how to run their business with the information that they can get as live as possible and to improve throughput. If you look at it from a global perspective, if manufacturers could have more throughput with the same amount of work centers and resources, everybody would benefit massively. And accounting really just doesn't do that. And there's a lot of other people that have fixed that already and have solved it. So with CRMs and with accounting systems, our integration is really deep, really tight. We do a lot of things. We pass a lot of information over, and we'll continue to pass more and more information over. Same thing with CRMs. We want to continue to integrate tighter and tighter and tighter there. There's other systems that the integration really isn't possible in the way that we want to build it yet, because those platforms aren't on the cloud. They're still on-premise based. There's some stuff that's on our docket to be able to drag and drop a file, a drawing into our system, and we'll be able to pull a bill of materials off of a SOLIDWORKS file. We're already able to render it in our 3D rendering on the job tracker and also inside the application. The next step is to take that, read all the information, and pull out bills of material to help you input information faster. But what would be really nice is if we could actually integrate somehow with a file vault that stores that drawing, and as it gets edited and changed, we could share that information. And we're just not able to do that just based on the technology that these other systems are built on. And so there's things that we want to do but just can't advance. And then there's a bunch of little things too. There's always certain pieces of software that people want to integrate with. And our plan there is to be the first manufacturing ERP to offer a really robust self-service API. And we're going to continue to document it and release it publicly at some point in time, and really have it be free of charge. Most other companies charge you to use it. We want to make sure that those that are hitting our API can just use it as any other software. So there's kind of those three buckets. There's other things that we do one-off that we just help our customers with. And that's a judgment call. If we think that our time, again, we don't bill for any of this, there's no additional charge or hourly rate for any of our services. If we really think that we can put another 10 hours of our time into making your business better, we'll just do it. But obviously we don't have unlimited resources, and we have to prioritize certain things. So it's not anything that we promise, but there are things that we do one-off for those as well. In terms of the rest of the integrations that are possible out there, there's a lot of exciting products that are out there. There are some that we integrate really tightly with, like Paperless Parts. We think that they're working on a lot of really cool stuff as well. There's other companies too, like Machine Metrics, that we're starting to integrate with from a partnership standpoint. So there's other manufacturing specific related software, Upkeep, Maintenance, that we're potentially working with in the future. Those we generally try to prioritize above other more general systems like Asana or Airtable or something like that.
Awesome. Cool. Well, we're basically right at the hour. There were actually 2 other questions that were in the chat. We will reach out to actually answer those still about integrations and a link to view this potentially at a later date. So yeah, thank you, Jeff, for joining us.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff. Really appreciate it.
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks for having me. It was great being here.
There are
Yeah.
employees of ours that are listening to this right now, and at least a few of them teared up. So wanted to make sure that you had that effect on them.
Mhm. Cool. All right, great.
Thanks,
Well,
everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Have a great night.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You too.